Now on Fox 13 News at 9, we are following three big stories. First, two people are found dead inside a Spanish Fork home, and their son is now in custody across state lines.
There. I got him. Good.
And the search for two missing hikers takes a devastating turn tonight in Kane County. What crews have just discovered and whether there's any hope left.
A strong storm has arrived here in Utah. What to expect for your morning drive and what kind of impacts we could see throughout the day tomorrow.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Bob Evans.
And I'm Kelly Chapman. The person of interest in a double homicide in Spanish Fork is now in custody 400 miles away in Colorado.
Grand County, Colorado Sheriff deputies found him 3 hours after Spanish Fork police sent out an alert. Investigators tell Fox 13 News reporter Emily Tenser that this person of interest is related to the dead couple.
Emily is live in Spanish Fork tonight at the house where the couple was found. Emily.
Bob, Kelly, officers have not yet identified the 58-year-old man and 50-year-old woman found dead inside this home today, but we do know the person of interest is their son, and he has a criminal history along with mental health issues. The corner home in suburban Spanish Fork is crawling with investigators as police piece together the murder of a couple in their 50s.
It affects everyone. It affects the family, it affects the neighbors, it affects the city as a whole.
Officers received a concerned call from a co-worker and they stopped by for a welfare check Tuesday at 2 p.m.
Our officers found an unlocked window. They were able to enter the home, and in doing so and clearing the home, they located a deceased 58-year-old male and a 50-year-old female deceased inside the home.
Police believe the couple's son, 26-year-old Tristan Erickson, is the person of interest. He was living at home at the time. Erickson has a history of run-ins with the law. As early as when he was a teenager, he was booked in 2016 for drunk driving this stolen vehicle into a Payson home.
All I've been able to find out from our detectives early on is that he did have some mental health issues. I'm not exactly sure what all those issues were.
Around 5 o'clock, the female victim's phone pinged near Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and officers spotted a missing car. A pursuit ensued, and Erickson was taken into custody in Grand County.
We have detectives that are going to be heading to Colorado to interview him and try to gather more information. There's still a lot to this timeline that officers are trying to figure out. Lieutenant Corey Slaymaker says the murders could have happened sometime over the weekend. They're going to be here throughout the night, probably into tomorrow, until they are able to gather all the evidence that they feel is necessary.
Erickson is held on local charges in the Grand County, Colorado jail. Spanish Fork police will not release the names of the victims until they are positively ID'd by the medical examiner. Reporting live in Spanish Fork, Emily Tenser, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Today, a hiker was found dead after three hikers went missing Monday morning near the Utah-Arizona border. One of them was found alive yesterday morning. The third is still missing tonight.
Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree joins us live in studio tonight to tell us more about the search and rescue efforts. Jenna.
That's right, Bob and Kelly. Look at this video we just got in from the Department of Public Safety showing the moments before a helicopter crew rescued one of the hikers from the Slot Canyon. The Kane County Sheriff's Office started the search for the three hikers yesterday who were reported overdue after entering Buckskin Gulch early that morning. Officials are still searching for the last hiker from the three-person group.
There. I got him.
He was severely cold, and they were able to airlift him or lift him out of the canyon, hoist him out of the canyon.
Lieutenant Alan Aldridge says over the last 48 hours, 10 other people have been rescued out of this canyon.
This is just kind of a freak couple of days. Why it hit all at once, I'm not sure what's going on there.
Video sent to Fox 13 News from Meredith Perez shows just how deep the water in Buckskin Gulch is and how fast it's running. She told us her group was planning on hiking 30 miles, but decided to turn around once they started getting stuck in quicksand.
There's always little pools and stuff in there. Any time of year you go through there, you're going to hit some water and, maybe knee deep. But The problem now is it's way steep and running.
Keep coming right there.
Lieutenant Aldridge says the 3 men who went missing were experienced hikers with survivalist skills and had likely done this hike before.
It's not like they just came out of the city and went and did this hike and were not prepared for it. I think they were probably prepared for it, but just the conditions were overwhelming for what anybody could be ready for.
Now, the Bureau of Land Management requires permits to do Slot Canyon hikes like Buckskin Gulch. Lieutenant Aldridge says hikers who plan on hiking there this week need to be prepared for these conditions. Reporting in studio, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Jenna, thanks so much. Switching gears to weather now, here is a live look at Zion National Park, where a flood watch just got issued.
Let's get right to Utah's Weather Authority, Allison Krogan, with more.
That's right. So it starts at 9 o'clock tonight, takes us through Thursday evening, an aerial flood watch for high flows along the subway narrows and other drainages in Zion National Park due to rain and also snow melt. So this is an area where they're expecting to likely issue some flash flood warnings over the next couple of days. So this is an area that you'll want to definitely pay attention to the forecast if you'll be recreating in the area. For tonight, a few areas of isolated rain and snow across southern Utah. Northern Utah, a lot of wet roads, but we're going to see better chances for storms to move in tomorrow morning. We're going to have a front that arrives along the Wasatch Front very early tomorrow morning. Some of you might be woken up early tomorrow with that rolling through. Wind right now is in Ogden 40 miles per hour. It is howling out there, about 30 miles per hour for Salt Lake, Milford, Cedar, for Hanksville 21 miles per hour. And over in Ely, about 40 miles per hour. So our front is going to be arriving after midnight tonight. It's going to make its way along the Wasatch Front for early tomorrow morning. We're going to see some areas of heavy rainfall across northern Utah with that front and across southern Utah throughout the day tomorrow. More on what to expect with this incoming storm in the full forecast.
10-foot mark. Give me a little bit of forward. Perfect. Okay, hold your forward. And on the ground.
We now have this video of the rescue of a motorcyclist who crashed into a slot canyon in the Warner Valley area near Hurricane 2 days ago. Authorities say the motorcyclist is Sergeant Brad Coleman with the Washington City Police Department. He has unspecified serious injuries. His family is grateful for his rescue and are praying he makes a speedy recovery. There is a GoFundMe page to help with medical expenses. The link is on our website, fox13now.com.
One person is now in custody after a bizarre hit-and-run case that led to a foot chase in Salt Lake City. It happened just after 11 o'clock this morning near 500 North, 1400 West. One person went into a nearby business, allegedly brandishing a knife and making, quote, very weird statements. No one was hurt. Officers then chased them on foot before taking them into custody. The individual was taken to the hospital with what officials say may have been self-inflicted wounds.
We have a rain event or a warm event, then it turns into a disaster.
The Jacob City fire left behind a major burn scar last summer. Now the city of Stockton is bracing for potential flooding. How they're preparing.
It's not often you hear about tuberculosis, but a Utah child has tested positive. The message from health officials in Cache Valley tonight.
Sports betting isn't legal here in Utah, but that doesn't mean you can't fall victim to March Madness scams. What you need to know to keep your money safe.
And the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will soon receive a major honor for his contributions toward world peace. We'll explain.
Welcome back, everyone. It is that time of year, March Madness, the biggest tournament in college basketball. It's upon us.
That's right. Now, you may like to fill out a bracket just for fun, but for some who like to roll the dice, betting on the big games could be a thrill that can have a heavy cost.
Fox 13 News investigative consumer reporter Robin Oginye shows us scams you should be watching for, even if sports betting is illegal here in Utah.
4-on-1, give it up, Duarte!
On your marks, get set, fill out those brackets. March Madness comes but once a year, and you probably have your favorite teams you root for every spring. But the landscape of the annual tournament is changing for many states where sports betting is now legal, so game day gamblers might have more skin in the game, so to speak. Utah is not one of those states, but
is in a state where sports betting is not legal, it's likely to be even more dangerous. But with March Madness, the betting scams, of course, are going to come to the forefront.
Just because you might not be able to legally wage a bet from where you live doesn't mean some may not try to get in on the fun. Actually, scammers anticipate it. And
the issue is in places where it's not legal, people are going to still, of course, encounter the chance to bet, whether it's online or other places. They may use various mechanisms like a VPN or something to, pretend to be in a different location than they are to access some of these betting sites, etc. Or they may be using third-party services that offer to place bets on your behalf.
A warning to think twice before you bet.
And the problem is you're already starting off with an illegal activity. And so what's the recourse, right? I mean, you're going to call the police and say, hey, I was betting illegally and somebody scammed me out of the money, right? It's much more difficult. So in an unregulated environment, it actually can be far more dangerous because the betting opportunities that people have in states where betting is illegal are more likely to obviously have no restriction and no regulation.
Remember those brackets I mentioned? They're still a popular means for people to participate in the fun, but you should probably keep it friendly. Take part in pools that are among friends or family.
Maybe people trying to get you to join, brackets or things like that may not actually exist. They're still in-person scams, so somebody might get you to try to buy into one of these things and then just leave with your money and kind of never see them again.
And since online sports betting is not legal in Utah, you don't have to worry about the ever-growing list of fake sports betting apps that scammers use to get your bank account information. As always, if you notice something fishy on your bank statement, don't ignore it.
If you're not someone that bets on sports and you're getting notifications that your account has been used for a sports betting site, so if you're getting one of those notifications from your credit card company or your bank that you've made a deposit to one of those sites, contact your bank or credit card company immediately. Trust your gut. A lot of these scams just won't quite feel right. They might seem a little bit off.
Just as a reminder, consumer experts tell us if you are going to fill out a bracket for fun, to seek out a reputable site. You're never going to have to input your social security number or your bank information. Robin O'Guinier, Fox 13 News, Utah.
From 4,000 acres burning last July to 4 separate floods in August and September, residents near the Jacob City fire burn scar in Tooele County, they're now experienced with disaster preparedness.
Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold has the story tonight from Stockton.
You can see it right over there. You can see a lot of the area where the flood came down off that canyon.
Lonnie Bates has called Soldier Canyon in Stockton home for 13 years.
The flood of 22 or last year after the burn, you could see it came down through this area.
Following the Jacob City fire, which burned an estimated 4,000 acres last July. The burn scar left behind led to a handful of flooding incidents last summer.
They said that we really need to be careful for the next 3 years.
Last year when we had rainstorms, we had quite a bit of water flooding down. It's a big concern.
Stockton Mayor Nando Maley says they've taken some precautions heading into this year. That includes using some federal money they received from the National Resources Conservation Service to protect their water well and treatment plant. The plant was temporarily taken out of service last year due to the risk of sediment and debris from the Jacob City fire.
They paid for the berms to be put in place already, and they gave the Tooele County some matching funds for doing some work up the canyon to try to mitigate the flooding.
The mayor says they've also set up a sandbagging station near Alex Baker Memorial Park for residents who are looking to take precautions, with rain expected to roll through the area later tonight.
Be here, I guess, until it's gone and then spring comes. Or maybe we might even still keep it here for the fall when we have the flash floods because of the burn scar.
Other measures are also being taken to mitigate any flooding in the area in the future.
Phase 2 of the work that will be completed in the canyon is to slow the water all the way from the head of the canyon all the way down to the base of the canyon. Right now, especially after a burn, the water comes down at an accelerated pace.
Bucky Whitehouse, the director of Tooele County Emergency Services, says they will begin working on that plan on April 1st. As for residents like Bates, he says they're at the mercy of the weather.
If it gradually brings the water down, then it's a blessing. But if it waits until summer just gets here and it gets hot, or we have a rain event or a warm event, then it turns into a disaster.
In Stockton, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Yeah, boy, get ready.
There are so many areas of the state right now that are under a very big potential threat.
That's right. And today was 60 degrees. It was our first 60-degree day that we've had since early November. Now, I know a lot of you have sent messages being like, okay, I'm really nervous about these warm temps today and the snow melt over the next couple of days. I think a lot of you will be happy to hear we are cooling down. However, we have rain moving through tonight and tomorrow morning, potentially some areas of heavy rainfall. So that's why we also, in addition to some snow melts, we are going to be cooling down though, and then we have some thunderstorms in the forecast for tomorrow. Tonight here across the state, widely scattered areas of precip across southern and northern Utah. We will continue with increased chances into the early morning hours. So over the next couple of days, we have winter storm warnings through Thursday morning for the northern mountains, winter weather advisories for the central mountains, and winter storm warnings for the mountains across southern Utah. So we've got a lot happening. We also have winter storm warnings down towards the LaSalle, and then we'll have those winter weather advisories for the eastern Uintas. Still a lot of wind in the forecast through tomorrow, and tonight it's going to remain windy. So tomorrow, if it's a trash day for your house, I would not put your trash can out tonight before bed. I would wait till tomorrow morning, wait till our front comes through tomorrow. Wind will eventually die down, but things are going to be gusty tonight, particularly in Tooele. But by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it's closer to about 15 to 25 miles per hour, which is not ideal for a trash can, but much better than what we're currently seeing and we'll see over the next couple of hours. Chance of precipitation for Salt Lake City, we're the red line. We're going to be scattered into the overnight hours. Then once we get to about 3 o'clock in the morning, we become numerous. We'll see widespread areas of showers through about 9 a.m. The concern with this will be some hydroplaning. All right, we're warm enough, we're tracking rain tomorrow morning. However, we're going to cool down behind the cold front, and depending on how quickly we cool down and also how long this precipitation sticks around, we might see some areas of snow mixing in second half of the day tomorrow. So our cold front at 5:30 a.m. is situated right over the Wasatch Front, right over Salt Lake County. You could hear some rumbles of thunder tomorrow morning with this. Also out ahead of this tomorrow morning in southwest Utah, areas of heavy rainfall. This is a concern for a couple of reasons. One, we've got the flood watch that just started for Zion National Park that takes you through Thursday. But the next thing that I'm concerned about are those slot canyons across southern Utah. Now, we typically don't get our monsoon season flash flooding concerns until later in the summer. However, with the snow melt that we have, the headlines that we have today coming out of Buckskin Gulch, this is a concern for me, okay? Please, please, please be really careful before doing any adventuring tomorrow. Throughout the day, we're going to have increased chances for showers and thunderstorms really across southern Utah second half of the day tomorrow. That's where it's going to be the bulk of our activity. But Wasatch Front, we'll have temperatures in the mid-40s throughout basically the entire day. In fact, we're going to have our warmest temperatures in the early part of tomorrow morning. Then second half of tomorrow, Wednesday at 3 p.m., we're about 45 to 50 for the Wasatch Front. We're in the 40s for a lot of Utah. Thunderstorm activity will be in the forecast for tomorrow and tomorrow evening. And then we're going to continue with some storms across the region through Thursday. So for St. George, 60 tomorrow, close to 60 on Thursday as that storm moves out. You'll see some clearing, more chances for rain and snow into next week. Salt Lake, 50 tomorrow for a high early in the day, 40s after that. More on what to expect over the next week in the full forecast.
Allison, thanks so much. Straight ahead, how the Utah Jazz helped inspire the next generation of female leaders today.
Chris Dunn for the Jazz has earned himself a new contract. I'll tell you about that coming up in sports.
Governor Cox signed several bills into law today, including a major piece of legislation on affordable housing. Mapleton Representative Stephen White's measure is designed to boost low-income housing by offering tax credits to builders. It also cuts through bureaucratic red tape for permits. It was one of several pieces of legislation designed to help solve the housing crisis.
Communities can bill railroad companies for infrastructure and safety improvements along rail lines. Representative Casey Snyder's bill was one of several that went after railroads in the latest legislative session, mostly after cities complained about the high cost of safety fixes.
Governor Cox also signed into law a bill that requires online dating apps and sites to post warnings about the dangers of sexual assault and catfishing. House Minority Leader Angela Romero says her bill is merely telling people to be safe because things aren't always what they seem on the internet.
Are you planning to join a political party to vote in a primary election? Your deadlines have changed under a newly signed bill. It moves the deadline to the day after candidate declarations are due for a presidential election. You can no longer vote in the primary and then immediately change your party affiliation back until after the primary election canvass. It's designed to make it a little tougher to switch parties just to have a say in the GOP primary.
Well, the governor also signed a bill expanding the sale of products made with raw, unpasteurized milk, but it does have to be clearly labeled, and Utah's Department of Health and Human Services can still enforce some regulations surrounding it.
A popular program has been extended that provides seeds and plants to help save the bees. Governor Cox signed Kearns Representative Ashley Matthews' bill into law. It's designed to have the state offer plants to reverse bee population declines in the beehive state.
It is a big public health issue.
A Utah high school student tests positive for a rare infectious disease. Coming up, what we know about the case and what the health department is doing.
Snowpack, water, and its impacts on the Great Salt Lake, all part of a conference here at Utah State University.
Utahns looking to buy a new car will pay more for it than most everyone else.
The higher dollar the car, the higher it was.
Why the markup is so high, coming up.
The Red Rocks going after their third straight Pac-12 title this week. We'll hear from the Red Rocks coming up in sports.
Fewer than 200,000 cases are detected in the U.S. each year, but a student at Mountain Crest High School in Hiram has tested positive for tuberculosis.
Fox 13 News reporter Lucy Nelson checked with the Bear River Health Department to see how they're handling the case.
It is a big public health issue.
The Bear River Health Department jumped into action after a case of tuberculosis was detected at Mountain Crest High School.
We are not sure where the student contracted it from. We just were given the information that the student had TB. And hence we then started to get to do contact tracing.
We have gone ahead and worked really closely with the school district to identify students that are considered close or prolonged contacts with the individual.
That meant testing anyone who had close contact for 8 hours or more with the student.
So there are many factors. You could have students in the close vicinity to the index case that may never get TB. But there could be students who have spent much less than the 9 hours and still could have contacted it. So it's very variable, which is why we have to kind of cast a wide net.
Dr. Perfulla Martin-Garg says it can be tricky to detect.
If you compare it with COVID, they are slower in onset. This is a fastidious organism. Its symptoms can range from months, sometimes years.
Symptoms to watch out for are prolonged cough, fevers, chills, night sweats, weight loss, loss of appetite, and chest pain. At that point, she would recommend an X-ray. She says it's treatable, and they have a plan in place if the results of those in the closest circle come back positive.
So we encourage anyone who has a suspicion that they may have gotten exposed or who are just concerned because they have low immunity or they are on medications which reduce their immune system to come forward and get tested.
In Cache County, Lucy Nelson, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Even with massive snowfall in the mountains, how Utah uses water is going to be critical in dealing with the drought and also, of course, saving the Great Salt Lake.
Spring runoff is part of a conference at Utah State University on climate, conservation, and how to use water. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow has more from Logan.
With significant snowpack in Utah's mountains, some communities are being told to prepare for potential flooding, especially if it warms up fast.
The weather is going to dictate flooding. There's a known right now, and that's the robust snowpack that we have. It's exceptional. It's historical.
At a conference at Utah State University on water innovation in the face of a changing climate, a hydrologist with the National Weather Service says it's been a good winter.
This is really the first year that we've seen an above-average snowpack, which is phenomenal. That's what we need. We get 90 to 95% of our water supply from the snowpack.
While this historic snowpack has been fantastic, scientists caution this does not end the drought.
It was multiple years of drought to reach its peak status. It takes multiple years to come out of that drought.
The same is true for the Great Salt Lake. The state agriculture commissioner hopes the snowmelt helps.
We couldn't be in a better position than we are right now, to tell you the truth. Soil moisture is good, and if we have a good melt, so not too fast, not too slow, but a good melt, we should be able to replenish a lot of the water in the Great Salt Lake. This should give us some time to make more plans as to how we can permanently deal with the issues that are facing the Great Salt Lake.
This year, the Utah State Legislature pushed more policies and hundreds of millions of dollars to help the lake.
Never did I ever think I would see so much money and so much legislation going into Great Salt Lake, but there's really two different time frames.
Some advocates say while lawmakers did great for the long term, political leaders need to move quickly to prevent ecological collapse.
Relying on this good snow year to get us out of a predicament that's taken us decades to get into, and we need to really be careful of that urgent time frame.
A former state lawmaker who now works for the brine shrimp industry on the lake says the legislature did do some really big things.
Some great policy moves in the water and the water conservation space, but we also really pared back significantly on the investments, and I think if there's a year to really get water to the lake, this is it. Because people know there's water in the mountains, they're more willing to part with it.
And conservation remains key going forward.
Got to be smarter about the way we use water.
In Logan, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
The Utah Jazz hosted their 5th annual Her Time to Lead program today. It's an educational seminar designed to inspire and develop the next generation of female leaders. The event took place at Granger High School and had panelists available for discussions. They all encourage the next generation of female leaders to find their voice and use it to create their dream future.
I think during high school years, girls are they're questioning a lot of things around them, and it's a great opportunity to give them a perspective of what life can look like in the future and to help them find their voice in a time when they're in this period of learning and growing.
A Women's History Month celebration will take place during the March 22nd Jazz game against the Portland Trail Blazers. Fans will have the chance to purchase limited time commemorative merchandise within the Utah Jazz team store.
The president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints will receive a prestigious honor next month. President Russell M. Nelson will be given the Gandhi King Mandela Peace Prize from Morehouse College. The 98-year-old world leader was selected for this award because of his promotion of peace and positive social transformation through nonviolent means.
Are you paying too much for your car? We're going to look at a study that says Utah has the highest markups on new vehicles. Also, what you need to know if you are buying a car soon.
And it's windy across the state right now. Things will remain windy through tomorrow morning. We are tracking an incoming cold front. What to know for your morning drive in the forecast.
A new study shows buying a car in Utah will cost you more than if you bought it in many other places.
You can blame supply and demand and significant markups on some makes and models at nearly 30% above manufacturer's suggested retail price. Fox 13 News anchor Amy Ney has more.
Just one of those things where the buyer beware. They need to be educated. They need to do their homework before they go out and buy a car.
Larry Ball is Director of Motor Vehicle Enforcement for the state.
Seems like it's coming down now, but at the peak when the supply chain was bad, we saw markups as high as on a Ford Raptor, we saw a markup of $20,000. The higher dollar the car, the higher it was, but it does seem to be coming down now.
According to a new survey from online car listing and research website iSeeCars.com, which tracked some 12 million sales across the country this past year, new cars still have major markups.
We see prices well above MSRP across the country still, averaging 8.8% across the U.S.
And Carl Bauer, iSeeCars executive analyst, says even higher here in Utah. Just take a look at the numbers.
Genesis GV70 and the Jeep Wrangler are the highest over MSRP nationally, and they're also the highest over MSRP there in Salt Lake City.
As high as 29% above MSRP, a more than $12,000 markup.
And of course, the Ford Maverick is a very popular compact truck from Ford. It's had big demand across the country, and apparently it's very popular in Salt Lake City. It's still over 21% above MSRP that they're charging. It's just proof that there are still certain models out there that just simply cannot meet demand, and the dealers know it.
They're starting to get more cars in now, and as we see the lots fill up, we're seeing it go down a little bit. Be educated, do homework, find out, know what you want to buy, look at it, price it out.
Prices starting to come down from where they've been, and that rings true in the used car market.
The value of used cars was just outrageous there for a long time. That is starting to crumble now.
The good news is there are deals out there. It used to be that pretty much everything was expensive.
There's an adjustment in process.
Okay, so maybe we're moving in the right direction.
Hopefully.
Amy Nay, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you think you've been taken or involved in some sort of motor vehicle fraud, either through a dealer or a private transaction, contact the Utah Motor Vehicle Enforcement Division. Find them online at mved.utah.gov, or you can email them at mved@utah.gov, or call them at 801-297-2600. And if all else fails, we have a link at fox13now.com.
It's Equal Pay Day, how a local tech company is helping diminish gender, race, and age pay gaps in Utah.
A Jazz player has turned 2 10-day contracts into a multi-year deal. I'll tell you about that coming up in sports. And BYU and Utah on the baseball field. The highlights on their way.
Welcome back. Today was Equal Pay Day. The date symbolizes how far into the year women must work to catch up to what men earned last year.
The 2020 census shows that American women working full-time make 81% of what their male counterparts make. In Utah, that number drops to 72%, making us one of the worst states for gender pay equality. One local group is trying to help change that. Fox 13 News reporter Darian DeBrule shows us how.
After finishing grad school here in Utah, seeing so many people that were getting underpaid that looked like me or was a woman or just someone from a different diverse background, that really catapulted, us.
This is Chanel Tuitele. She is the co-founder of Lyona Fair Pay, a Utah-based tech company focused on eliminating bias-based pay gaps within companies.
We focus not just on gender, but our data scientist team, they'll check for any pay gaps related to gender, race, and age.
They're tackling the issue by conducting confidential salary audits.
We need companies to conduct internal studies. They can look at, how are they deciding pay structures when they hire? And are there any overt or even like subtle implicit things that are happening that influence the pay gap?
Factors like education, occupational choice, and work experience can contribute to difference in pay. But USU researcher Emily Dorowski says even if all those factors are controlled, there are still pay gaps.
We typically see gaps even when we're comparing men and women in the same field. We do know that occupational segregation is a factor, and this is where women tend to choose occupations that get paid less overall.
Gender pay disparities also intersect with racial pay disparities.
Brown women were still getting left behind.
The 2021 USU Women's Leadership Study shows white women make 68% of what white men in Utah make, while Asian women make 66%, Hawaiian and Native Islander women make 55%, Native American women make 52%, Black women make 51%, and Hispanic/Latina women make 49%.
Those gaps get much larger for women of color, which suggests that we need, we have a lot of work to do in the state.
Dorowski and Tuitele say many things can help close these gaps, but it begins with educating young people and continues with self-advocacy.
We need to talk to young women to explore the broad spectrum of educational and occupational choices that they can make.
It's hard to, step out of your comfort zone and ask, but it's worth asking so you don't leave, $500,000 over a 30-year time frame on the table.
In Salt Lake City, Darian DeBrule, Fox 13 News, Utah.
What do you and the woman in your life experience when it comes to equal pay? We're curious. The majority right now is saying it's dependent on the job. Scan that QR code on your screen. It'll take you to fox13now.com/voice and then click on the news tab. Use that slide bar to share perspective on how close to equal with men the women in your life are compensated.
Earlier, we told you about a flood watch that was just issued for Zion National Park. The park has seen a lot of snow this year, and rangers are expecting increased runoff this spring. One of the most popular things to do in the park is hiking the Virgin River Narrows. But the river is expected to run higher than normal, and that could affect access to the Narrows.
We are working actively with our partners at the National Weather Service to understand what kind of weather we can expect here. And we're working actively with the U.S. Geological Survey to continue monitoring stream levels in the Virgin River. We're going to share information actively about what we find out as conditions here change.
They'll share that information on the Zion Park National Park website, on social media, and face-to-face with visitors in the park. Schaefer says rangers at the Visitor Center and on the trails are happy to share updated information.
And in fact, that warning right there, Bob, that you told us about, you did that interview earlier, has been even upgraded as we go into the night. And the next few days, Allison, you have more.
That's right. Today was our first 60-degree day here in Salt Lake City, our warmest day since early November. So it's been our warmest day so far this year. And we do have some cooler temperatures on the way. So don't worry, we're not heading into a really hot trend here, at least not this week. We do have areas of rain, though, coming down up towards I-84 and I-15 at the Idaho border. Bigger picture is things have died down as far as precipitation goes. Wind is still rocking here across the state, but we've got a front that's off to our west right now. That's going to be moving into the Wasatch Front between about 4 and 8 a.m. So this front will be situated 7 o'clock in the morning through Wyoming, all the way south of Ely. And with that, we're going to have some areas of thunderstorm activity tomorrow morning. We'll also see some areas of heavy rainfall down into Washington County tomorrow morning. So we do have an aerial flood watch for Zion National Park that started at 9 p.m. That takes you through Thursday evening. So they are wanting to let people know if you're in the area, please stay weather aware because there is the chance that some flood warnings do get issued over the next 48 hours. So through 3 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to keep the heavy precipitation going in eastern, southern, central, and western Utah. So we've got a lot to chat about for tomorrow. Chance of precipitation for Ogden tomorrow is likely. Mainly rain, might see some snow mixing in second half of the day. Drier to end of the week and also cooler with some more chances for rain and snow late in the weekend into early next week. For Provo, likely precip tomorrow, drier Wednesday night through the weekend. Then by Sunday into next week, some more chances for rain and snow. And for St. George tomorrow, widespread rain. Could see some thunderstorms even through Wednesday night. That's when it's likely. Then you'll see some low chances, widely scattered areas of rain heading into this weekend and next week. So how much rain are we talking about over the next 7 days, or how much precipitation, water equivalent, are we talking about? A lot for the Sierra Nevada, but for us here across Utah, everything highlighted in green is around 1/2 inch or less. And then everything highlighted in blue is 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches. And then once you get into the purple colors, that's when we're looking at more than 2 inches or close to 2 inches of that water equivalent. So for the Salt Lake Valley, out on the west side, I-80 out towards the airport, likely around 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. But for the Wasatch Mountains, top of the Cottonwood Canyons, we could end up with about 30 inches of snow as a possibility with that equivalent, that snow equivalent. But what we're going to be tracking will be areas of concern for poor drainage, especially along the Wasatch Back, the Ogden Valley, and the Cache Valley. So we're heading into the next couple of days. Snowfall for the mountains, mainly 6 to 18 inches of snow for our mountains here across Utah. Higher amounts locally are possible. For St. George, 60 tomorrow, close to 60 on Thursday. Close to 60 throughout your entire 7-day forecast. For tomorrow here in Salt Lake, rain. It'll be breezy. Some thunderstorms are possible. Might even see some snow mixing in the second half of the day. And then we're going to keep it close to 45 to 50 throughout the rest of your 7-day forecast. And then for week 2, temperatures will stay below average. So if you're worried about hot temperatures very quickly and snow melt, I think you'll be happy to hear that we're going to hold off on that warmer weather for week 2. This is the last week of March, basically. This is the 22nd to 28th. Temperatures will remain below average, but in that same time frame, we are going to continue with above average areas of precipitation. That's not going to go ahead and open the graphic. Take my word for it. We'll continue with a cold, wet pattern for week 2. In the meantime, temperatures below average by a good 5 to 10 degrees for the next week.
Former Utah State Aggie and Bountiful High School star Sam Merrill has signed a multi-year contract with the Cleveland Cavaliers. He signed a 10-day contract after playing well with the Cavaliers' NBA G League team. You may remember he won an NBA championship his rookie season with the Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Dunn has earned his spot in Utah, signing a multi-year deal with the Jazz. He played well during his 2 consecutive 10-day contracts, averaging nearly 12 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds per game in his 9 games with the Jazz. The number 5 pick in the 2016 NBA draft is shooting 53% from the field and 37% from three-point range. College baseball, Utah and BYU played their first of 3 games against each other this season this afternoon at Miller Ballpark in Provo. Third inning, Tate Gramble just about hit it out of the park. That was a double that scored Ozzie Pratt to put the Cougars up 3-0. The Utes had just 1 hit in this game, while the Cougars, they had 9, including this home run from Jacob Wilk in the 6th inning. Carries out for a solo home run. BYU was up 5-0. The Cougars added 2 more runs in the 8th inning. Cooper Vest drives this one. This one almost went out of the yard. Off the wall for a double, Dawson Hall scored. BYU won it 7-0 in a game that was almost a no-hitter. Utah gymnastics team will try to win their 3rd straight Pac title at the Pac-12 Championships on Saturday at the Maverick Center. Senior captain Crystal Issa has been part of those championship teams, and she hopes to contribute with some big scores on Saturday. She's a 5-time All-American with Utah. She finished strong on senior night with her first perfect 10 on the balance beam. She's been with the Red Rocks for 5 seasons, and today she shared how she's grown along with the Utes and how it felt to stick that 10 on senior night.
I didn't really notice it because I'm like obviously focused on the beam, but then I just remember the huntsman just being that loud, and I was like, I've never heard that for me. And all of my teammates and all my coaches just like hugging me in that moment. I was like, oh wow, I like actually finished my career on a really great note. Throughout my 5 years here, I've really stayed true to myself in the way that I'm pretty positive and I like to make the most of situations. But I will say when I was a freshman, I was really stubborn and I liked things to go my way and I liked things to be perfect. And now I just kind of take things as it is and make the best of them. I look back and I'm really grateful that I was able to do that because I think it made my 5 years here really different.
The Utes have won 5 Pac-12 championships to gymnastic teams since joining the Pac-12, so they'll try to make it 6 on Saturday.
Oh, they're always a powerhouse. They are so good.
Good.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll be right back. Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9.
Stick around. QuickCast is coming at you next.